Longhorn Nation, Sooner fans, welcome to episode 152 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Oklahoma and the University of Texas. Here with my man Kevin Miller. I am John Whitson. Kevin, I was accused in our last episode by multiple listeners for not bringing the energy. They said I sounded down. They said I sounded out. I replied, it was a bye week. You can only get so excited coming off of a devastating loss to Missouri, then having a bye week, only to face the Crimson Tide of Alabama. Where can the excitement come from? But I took it to heart, Kevin. I took it to heart and reminded myself that we are the University of Oklahoma. We have a program that is second to none. We are as bluest as all the blue bloods. 7 national championships, 7 Heisman Trophy winners. It does not even matter who we play. Are the odds long this week? Absolutely. Absolutely, the odds are long. But when you look at the roster of the University of Oklahoma, are any of those boys scared to play Alabama? Because I dare say not. I don't think Danny Stutzman is scared one bit to Alabama. I think he looks at Jalen Milroe and says, bring it on. I think Billy Bowman looks at Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams and says, I'm not going to let a 17-year-old kid come into the Palace on the Prairie and embarrass me. I hope that's the attitude they're bringing, because upon reflection and upon being called out by our listeners, that's the attitude I'm going to bring. I don't give a beep if it is Alabama. We are Oklahoma. This is our home field. We're playing for, at this point, nothing but pride. And everything else needs to be put in second place, because this is Oklahoma football. Am I wrong, Kevin?
No, you're not wrong. No, you should be excited. You should be excited about this. It's a big game.
It's what we signed up for.
Correct. Yes.
This is what we signed up for.
I have a decade of watching the team play for pride in moments like these. So
let me tell you,
enjoy, man. These moments are rare, so enjoy them.
Here's the problem. I'm excited. Okay, I am positively enthusiastic for Oklahoma to host Alabama on Saturday at 6:30 under the lights. The reality, however, cannot be glossed over. Okay, we're playing Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe is 160 completions on 237 attempts, 2,232 yards passing, 15 touchdowns to get 6 interceptions. Probably more concerning is 608 yards rushing on 120 carries and 17 rushing touchdowns, Kevin.
Yeah.
Oklahoma is a good rush defense. That has been established. We have done a very good job against any team we've played this year in controlling their rushing game. Tennessee, Ole Miss, even Texas. I don't think anybody broke over 100, did they?
Yeah, Trey Wiseman did.
Did he? Okay, well, that might be the one. Okay, that might be the one. And that was a bad game all around, but that might be the one. Other than that, Ole Miss, Missouri, it doesn't matter. We have maintained very good defensive consistency against the run. We have not seen a quarterback that can run like this.
No.
Including Lenore Sellers at South Carolina. Milroe's on another level.
He really is, man. And he's got that. He's so strong. But once he gets into the open field, he can go 80 on you. He's a very dangerous quarterback. Texas did a pretty decent job of containing him last year. But, he was still coming into his own at that point. So, yeah, it'll certainly be a challenge. Like you said, the defense has been pretty good at corralling opponents' run games. It's just so different when you've got such a dangerous guy. And they're dangerous everywhere, right? They've got great wide receivers who he can hit. So it's that true dual threat offense that scares you.
Okay. So talk about wide receivers. Okay. If Jalen Milroe wasn't enough, all right, we have a 17-year-old Ryan Williams, 5-star receiver. This guy is fit. You look at him and think he's the closest thing to like an Adrian Peterson in terms of being NFL ready. I feel like the dude could go play in the NFL right now as a 17-year-old.
I agree.
And that is a hot take and an outlandish statement. And I think I stand by it because this dude is really, 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 really good. And in the nature of the new NFL, where smaller guys, less punishment, I just really think this guy can play. However, okay, let's do a little compare and contrast. Oklahoma's leading receiver, if such could be used as a term to describe this player, is Bauer Sharp. Okay, 39 receptions, 299 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That is our leading receiver. Okay, Ryan Williams has one more catch. So he's not dominating him in the touches, but he has one more catch for more than double the yards, 767 yards, and 4 times touchdowns with 8 touchdowns. And the athletic dynamicism of this kid, I don't know what Oklahoma's going to do in terms of covering him. Eli Bowen, I think, has proved to be our best corner.
Yes. 100%.
Des Malone, Jacoby Johnson, Kenai Walker have all had their moments where they look really good, and they've had their moments where they've let us down. And I'm a big Jacoby fan, but against Missouri in that last drive, it wasn't good. When we needed him to step up, it wasn't good. So I don't know if they're going to try to bracket him with Eli or just do some coverage stuff with Billy Bowman over the top or whatever. It's going to be fascinating to watch. The problem is they're going to have to account for Milroe's legs. So look, all the enthusiasm I can have about hosting Alabama and all the bluster I can bring for the University of Oklahoma doesn't escape the reality that this is a very good Alabama team coming to Norman on Saturday.
Yeah, and as far as Milroe running, I'd imagine you have to use a spy every play for him. And I'm imagining that spy would be Kip Lewis.
Yeah.
I don't see Stutzman just having the quickness to. I think Kip Lewis is a bit more athletic than him, so I imagine that's who it'll be. So it's just so important that you maintain discipline. And, when you're rushing him, you can't get too far up the field. Because if you can get underneath, you're looking at least a 10-yard gain. Even if you have good pursuit and good tackling, it's going to be a first down every time. If you get upfield too much with your defensive line.
Oklahoma has seen their share of good quarterbacks. Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, Nico Imalabea. Who am I missing?
I mean, Lenore Sanders is solid. Drew Pine, yeah,
Drew Pine looked like an all-star in the last
on that last drive. Yeah, he did.
He looked like an all-SEC quarterback. Oklahoma's, I guess, the kid from Tulane, Mensa. People like the kid at Tulane.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
I mean, if you want, Mensa was a runner, right? Am I forgetting?
He was. I mean, he's not
Jalen Milroe.
More. No, not at all. Not at all.
But we contain Mensa. They're a top 25 team still, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess there's a blueprint for playing a running quarterback. Of course, the outside weapons they have and, the defense that Alabama has. Looking at Alabama's schedule, it's really an interesting look at what an SEC schedule can give you. That win against Georgia looked so very good around week 4 or 5. Is that right? I think that's kind of where that was. So first third of the season.
Yeah, week 4. It was their
first
game. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
It was September 28th.
Perfect. So first third of the season, in the first half, Alabama looked unbeatable. You watch the first half of Alabama, Georgia, and there is not a team in America that stays with that team.
Not at all.
Conversely, they then had the second half against Georgia where they looked vulnerable outside the heroics of Ryan Williams. They then go lose to Vanderbilt. at the time, what a game. I mean, what a experience to watch that occur as a football fan and to see the fans react. And you had a lot of that. And a lot was made of that. Like second half of Georgia, you lose to Vanderbilt. Then following that up with during the OU Texas game, you were giving me updates on this. They should have lost to South Carolina.
They should have. Yeah. South Carolina played really well in that game. And that was in Tuscaloosa, too. So they're, this close to having back-to-back losses.
They were this close to having back-to-back losses. And then they go to Tennessee and lose 24-17. Now, Oklahoma scored 15 against Tennessee. You see, you get what I'm saying? It's like, it's, and that was with 3 really bad turnovers and a completely inept offense. And, we've got backups in. And I mean, it was bad offensive football for Oklahoma against Tennessee. But Alabama doesn't look much better. In fact, that second half, Tennessee was the better football team. That's why they won. Now, since that loss to Tennessee, they have backed that up with an absolute ass kicking at Missouri, 34-0, and a convincing win against a middling LSU team, but still 42-13. I guess my question is, has Alabama found something in the last 3 weeks? Or are there holes in their attack that Oklahoma can potentially exploit to keep this thing close?
Well, I think the honest answer is both, right? They've definitely improved. Their defense has gotten better. I mean, the defense hasn't been bad all year, but the defense has gotten better. They've tightened up. And I think they're just realizing who they are offensively. And it's primarily a running football team that relies heavily on the quarterback run. And when you have a quarterback like that, why would you not rely on the quarterback run? That should be a huge part of an offense, right? It's when you guys had Kyler Murray. Of course, he ran for 1,000 yards. You have to take advantage of that. And the fact that college defenses can't really handle a running quarterback like that, especially when he has the ability to make passes down the field like Milroe does. He's one of the best deep ball throwers in the country. However, there are holes there, right? No teams that are perfect. We've seen this offense be able to be slowed down against the best defenses on their schedule. LSU has not been great defensively this year, especially against mobile quarterbacks, right? You guys might be able to do a better job than that. Tennessee certainly was able to. Same against South Carolina. They got after Milroe all game long. So I want to see, is this a game that your defense can step up and force turnovers? Because we've seen Milroe, as good as he is, as dynamic as he is, he has turned the ball over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He will throw passes that are there to be intercepted. Will you get your hands on them?
I don't know. It's fascinating to me because in other years, I would think that we would just be so outmatched on the defensive side of the ball, that we would just have to hold on. And now I'm just thinking to myself, my God, if we just had any kind of offense, I would love to see this matchup. I would love to see this matchup because defensively, looking at their schedule and who they played and how they played them, we have a chance, I think, to keep Alabama in the 20s. Okay?
Yeah.
A la South Carolina, a la Tennessee. I think our defense is as good as that. Look at what we did against Missouri. I mean, not Missouri. Well, I mean, kind of Missouri. But look at what we did against Ole Miss, Tennessee. We've got some opportunities there. But I don't know where the offense is going to come. Brent Venables in his press conference was pretty frank and honest about the total lack of really anything coming out of the offensive side of the ball. He even had to make some direct pleas to recruits. I think he used his press conference to reach out to recruits to say things will change. We will be hiring a home run hitter for offensive coordinator. We need everybody to stay strong and be positive and be a part of that. But Susi out of Texas, the
Louisville,
5-star offensive tackle, will be attending the Texas-Kentucky game over the Oklahoma-Alabama game.
That would be very concerning to me if I was an OU fan.
Look, if somebody told me that he was going to Texas A&M. Wouldn't bother me. That's going to be a ginormous game in the state of Texas. Everybody's talking about it. Every high school football player is probably talking about it. It's just the nature of being in Texas and that game occurring and the stakes that are on the line and everything that's being brought up with that game. Going to the Texas-Kentucky game, it's like, oh, I do not want to hear that. Listen, is it real? Should Oklahoma fan be worried? Is this the smoke signal that should have us going, oh, this is not good?
Well, yes and no. Okay, yes, because I mean, anytime one of your recruits takes a visit to another school, especially this late in the process, it's concerning. But this is just what it is when you recruit big time players. Texas had 3 commits visit Florida this past weekend. The same Florida team we just beat by over 30 points. We had 3 of our commits visit there for the Florida LSU game. One of our guys went to A&M last week. It's just what it is when it comes to recruiting the big time players nowadays. And I know Venables has this policy about, visits. If you're a commit and you visit, you're not really committed. I understand where he's coming from, but that's just what it is, man. Guys, you get close to it. Guys start wanting to just be 100% sure about their decisions, and it's something you just have to deal with.
Well, you bring up a good point. I mean, that's been his stance. We've questioned it. People have questioned it through 3 recruiting cycles. This will be his 4th recruiting cycle. It's largely paid off. He's had very good recruiting classes. Can't really complain about who he's brought in and things of that nature. But obviously, with the losses mounting up and the turmoil surrounding the program, is he out of touch with this, or does he have to stick with it because he's laid it out there? You can't tell me that Fasusi goes and visits Texas and Kentucky, or Texas for the Kentucky game, that he's still not going to sign Fasusi. It's not like he's cutting him off.
Correct.
So
exactly.
I guess I don't know.
He's not going to cut him off. He's also visiting Texas A&M for the Texas versus Texas A&M game the following week.
I can't blame him for that, dude. I would visit that game.
Me neither. It's just what it is, man. Like I said, we Jamie French, our 5-star receiver commitment, visited Florida. He's from Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Hopefully he still sticks with us, especially this late in the process. You don't want to start losing commits, but is it welcome to big time recruiting in the SEC where you can be, 8th in the country and 6th in your conference or 7th in your conference?
Let's talk a little bit about, there's a couple things we need to talk about here. We're 18 minutes in. I actually thought to mention this first, but I didn't. Real life is intersecting Oklahoma football, which is always a little weird, right? I like to think of Oklahoma football, probably you with Texas football, as its own escapist kind of, non-real world, like an alternate universe where I can kind of escape my real life and go talk football and yell about football and be mad about football and all the things that come with being a football fan, find joy in the fact that other people are having athletic success, all the things, and then come back to real life and realize real life is real life. And so when those intersect, it's kind of weird, right? So Brent Venables discloses that his wife, Julie Venables, has had a reoccurrence of the cancer.
I didn't hear that. No, I didn't.
Yeah. Apparently she's been fighting it. And so that's like real life, right? So you got to sit back and go, well, holy crap, dude. Like, here we are just busting this guy's footballs, and he's going through like the biggest battle that guys like you and I who are happily married can ever imagine going through. Like, it just sounds awful. So when real life intersects football, it makes you have to like reevaluate what you're doing and what you're thinking about and what you're putting emphasis on. And so at this point in my mind, I'm thinking we need to support the what out of Brent Venables. This does not need to be a run him out of town situation. This needs to be he's a Sooner and he's hurting and his family's hurting. And the school and the community and the state and the fan base needs to rally, right? This needs to be like literally circle the schooner wagons, if you will, and let's get on the side of this. That's my first thought about that. My second thought about that is how that intersects is what does it mean for the offensive coordinator spot? And I mean that in the sense, can you afford to bring a 1 or 2 year coordinator in from Washington State who might not have the experience because Zach Alley is not an experienced defensive coordinator that you could hand the reins over if something escalates, unfortunately. Does that make Dan Mullen the most logical choice? And is that even a real thing? Because you could see a scenario where you hire a Dan Mullen and Venables maybe drops back for a couple months, takes a leave of absence, does whatever he needs to do. And you have an adult in the room that can at least guide the ship. Am I thinking too much on this? Or is this
no, you're not. I think you have to prepare for every scenario, especially knowing what's going on. So first of all, thoughts and prayers to
absolutely
Julie Venables and coach for having to deal with that right now. It's just a lot to manage when you're dealing with that, which real life, and managing one of the biggest college football programs, in the sport. It's just a lot to carry. But it's really tough with this OC thing, right? Because sometimes, what if the offensive coordinator that you want is thinking like, okay, well, maybe is this guy on thin ice already?
Right.
Went strictly to a football. Am I gonna, uproot my life to go somewhere where I may only be for a year? Or, or someone like Dan Mullen may be thinking, maybe if I go here and something happens with the head coach, maybe I may be a candidate to take over, something like that.
Well, think about it, Dan Mullen. Let's just talk about that just for a second, because I agree with you. I agree with that sentiment. Also, Dan Mullen has the cachet and resume to survive a Brent Venables getting fired, I think, at least from an offensive coordinator standpoint.
Yeah.
If BV wasn't to make it through next year, I think Dan Mullen's fine, right? I'm not worried about Dan Mullen, and I don't think he's worried about himself because he's only coming to Oklahoma if he gets paid anyway, right?
Sure.
But in addition, if Dan Mullen would have taken the job following Jeff Lebby, he would have had to continue to produce at a top 10 level and improve upon that. Well, that was a tall ask. It was a tall ask for Seth Luttrell, failed miserably. It would have been a tall ask for anybody to say, here goes the all-time touchdown leader in college football history. You lose him. Now come in and maintain the same level of production. However, for Dan Mullen or anybody, but specifically we're talking about him, you get to come in and go, dude, we were terrible. I have nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, anything's got to be better than what we had last year.
If we're a top 25, top 30 offense, which is just insane to say for Oklahoma. I mean, over the last 25, 30 years, it's like, oh my God, we're like okay with a top 30 offense. But if you're a top 30 offense, the improvement would be dramatic. And you could take a whole ton of credit from that, even if you got fired. So I don't know, man. With real life intersecting football, it makes me really think that maybe Dan Mullen's the guy. Oklahoma Twitter seems to be high on the Washington State guy, the Arbuckle kid. I don't know. For some reason, I want more pro style. I want more of what you see at like Ohio State and even at A&M. I feel like that's a more sustainable offensive system. Even what Kalen DeBoer's running, than just pure run and shoot principles, air raid principles.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dan Mullen really doesn't run pro style stuff.
What is he? But he's not air raid, is he?
No, he's not air raid. No, he ran like a spread offense, and they had some power concepts with it, and then a lot of jet sweeps and things like that. Yeah.
Why'd you say that? Maybe, all right, cross them off the list.
Here's the thing.
Are they jet sweeps to your tight end with no momentum? Are they jet sweeps with absolutely zero motion and we just give it to him right at the
no lead blocker?
No lead blocker, no anything. Is that what we're talking about? Because hold the damn horses.
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. You say you criticize jet sweeps, but you're not criticizing jet sweeps when they're being handed to Percy Harvin.
That's correct.
Strong agreement. It's It's a bit different than some of the guys that they had. Jeff Dempson.
Maybe we could run a jet sweep with Deion Burks. I mean,
idea.
we did that at the beginning. Well, first of all, we did at the beginning of the year, and I was probably pissed about that, but it's got to be whatever. Let's not get off of the jet sweep.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the offense. So you're saying spread with some power running concepts. I mean, he also coached Tim Tebow, and Tebow was very much power running quarterback. You know, he made a lot out of that kid, right? I mean, Tim Tebow going to go down as one of the all-time great college quarterbacks.
For sure.
He was not a great thrower, mechanic, pure passer. No. He wasn't even a Jalen Milroe in terms of athleticism.
Oh, not at all.
He was just a gritty kid that
just tough as nails. Leader,
surrounded by a lot of talent, but was able to do it, right?
Incredible talent, and was able to get the job done. And you know, they use him as a power running back down there in the red zone. Even his true freshman year, when they had Chris Leak as their starter, they would bring him in on 4th and 1 or in the goal line situations, and they ended up winning the national championship that year. And one thing you can't remember, or you can't forget, is his work with Dak Prescott at Mississippi State.
Yeah.
You know, who comes in as a 3-star guy and, you know, ends up going and becoming a pretty good NFL quarterback. So,
listen, I don't know if excited about Dan Mullen's the right thing to say. You see his average points per game, and I think there's some excitement there, but I think it's calming. I think it puts me at a little bit of ease that you know, an experienced hand is at the wheel, and you know, but listen, I've been on the DeMarco Murray train now for about 4 or 5 weeks. Really frustrated with what I've seen. You know that Dan Mullen, as a coordinator, if he was to maintain the staff, which, fine, I don't know. I don't think he has to get rid of the staff. I think they're all fine. We like Bill Bedenbaugh, at least for what he's done over the years and all this kind of stuff.
No, let me ask you this, though. If he wants to bring in his own guys, are you okay with it?
Yes. Yeah. We're terrible on offense. We're terrible.
Okay, just making sure. I would want the same thing. I just want to see what, as I know you.
If he wants to do it, but if he thinks he can come in and say, you know, if he can look at Bill Bedenbaugh, DeMarco Murray, and Emmett Jones and go, you know what, guys, y'all can really recruit, but you just can't really run an offense. I'm going to run the offense. You guys go get me the guys. Like, I actually think that could happen. But my point is, if he decides to keep the stuff, he can tell DeMarco Murray, this is who's playing. And he won't have a problem doing that. I worry that you bring Arbuckle in and he doesn't bring a staff in. If Arbuckle's willing to step up to a DeMarco Murray or a Bill Bedenbaugh or whoever and go, I really think we should play that guy. Oh, well, I'm the position coach, so deal with it. Yeah. Well, you sucked as position coach for the last 2 years.
That's got to be a Venables thing. That's got to be the head coach who makes sure those things happen.
I don't think he's making sure it happens. That's my point.
I know. Yeah.
I think he's making sure it happens. I don't like the direction of who we're playing, especially at running back, all year. Or maybe the last 2 years. I don't know. All right. There you go. There's your update. Seriously, in all seriousness, we got to rally the wagons around Brent Venables, his family. He's a Sooner. He was a Sooner for years. And he's a Sooner now, and his family's a Sooner. And, you know, let's just rally up. That's what I'm going to say. Okay.
Real quick, you should have hold on, before we move on, you know, also should be a good atmosphere. You know, it's your last home game of the year.
And it's Alabama. Night game.
Night. So,
game.
Senior night.
Yes.
So it should be a great atmosphere. We'll see what you guys can make happen. Can you force turnovers? Jalen Milroe did have 2 interceptions against both South Carolina and Tennessee. Can you force turnovers, and can you score on some of those turnovers? Can you get a scoop score?
We haven't even talked about this, and I haven't seen anything to the contrary, but I'm assuming Arnold's the starter.
I haven't heard anything otherwise.
I can't believe we've talked 29 minutes and not talked about the starting quarterback at Oklahoma, maybe because it's disheartening to discuss it. Do you think it should be Jackson Arnold? If you're Joe John Finley and Brent Venables, are you giving the keys to the guy that had 3 of the worst turnovers you've ever seen against Missouri? And maybe one of the worst, and maybe the worst turnover of the year among many?
Yeah, that one, the last one was definitely the worst turnover of the year. I don't know. It's hard, man, because we just haven't seen anything from Jackson Arnold to say he's definitely the guy. But we haven't seen anything from Michael Hawkins either, except he protects the ball. You know, the offense
Well,
didn't really move great
they
with
didn't
him.
protect the ball against South Carolina. I don't think they were
No.
his fault.
Yeah.
We were blocking maybe the best edge player in the SEC with Bauer Sharp. So I'm not putting that on him. However, the turnovers in the stat sheet, and 3 of them occurred in like the first 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
So,
Bad. So I don't know, man. I really don't know. Unless you're going to unveil some kind of quarterback run deal with Hawkins, I don't know. Maybe you could use him still. I have no idea. And it's not a good position to be in. And I'm speaking from experience here with Texas. So
I know you love to bring it up. All right. Speaking of the number 2 team in the college football playoff rankings, the University of Texas at Austin takes on Kentucky, coached by Mark Stoops. They are 4-6. This is according to Twitter, Kevin, and I know Twitter or X is never wrong. And I took 0 time to research it, so we're going to go with this stat. Or maybe more of a nugget. Not so much a stat. Kentucky has played at Texas before. But Austin is the furthest west Kentucky has ever played a college football game. That is weird.
I heard the same thing, which is shocking. It really is. But I think it just proves once again that college football was meant to be a regional sport, which another reason why that some of the realignment stuff is so weird.
Kevin.
I'm not justifying them never going west.
No.
Further than Austin, but you know what I'm saying.
Historically, you're right. Okay. I agree with you. Historically, it's supposed to be a regional sport. In many ways, I think we all still wish it was. In a lot of ways. I do. Give me the old Big 12. I'd be happy with it. The Nebraska A&M Big 12. I actually really like that conference, and I thought we were pretty good. Anyway, what I'm getting at, though, is forget historically. Let's just talk the last 25 years. I don't know, since the year 2000, when TV money has become a big deal, when neutral site games have become a big deal, when matchups that pay money have become a big deal. The fact that Kentucky has never played Washington, Oregon, UCLA, USC, Utah, Arizona State, Colorado is a little nuts.
It really is.
It's a little crazy. Those are
bizarre.
Those are decent draws for television. And to get a game, a week 2 game with one of those schools. I mean, Oklahoma's been to UCLA. Oklahoma's been to Oregon. Oklahoma's been to Washington. We've never been to any of the Arizona schools. But Texas has been out west.
Oh, yeah.
Alabama goes everywhere. You wonder why they have a big brand and they're able to recruit? Because they were forward thinking and they go everywhere. This is weird. This is a weird stat. I'm sorry. I think it's odd.
It's very odd. I saw that this morning doing some prep, and I'm like, have you never been further west than Austin, Texas? That's so crazy.
And if we're wrong about that, please fact check us and let us know. I don't know. We're going off of Twitter. I don't really care.
This has been tweeted out by reputable college football reporters.
Okay, good. Yeah. I think it's weird. Okay. By the way, is there a better movie? I need to get my girls to watch this basketball movie. It's basketball. This isn't basketball, but Kentucky's a basketball school. Let's face it. And I think they're pretty good too. I think the Mark Pope guy's going to do real good things for Kentucky.
Yeah.
What was the name of the movie though? Glory Road.
I don't know the name of it, but I know what you're talking about.
I think it was Glory Road.
Texas
Western beating down Adolph Rupp's whiteboard. Oh my gosh, what a great movie!
Great stuff. Really
I love that movie, dude.
Yeah, it's really good.
Was Kentucky football segregated? I assume it was.
I'm 100% sure it was. Yeah, there's no way it wasn't.
You know what's interesting about Kentucky as a state is they were a union state. You know, they never went never went to the South. Now there was a lot of sentiment to go south. And Lincoln had to hold on for dear life to Kentucky. And the Emancipation Proclamation did not even end slavery in Kentucky. Let that sink in.
Crazy.
So Kentucky is like one of those borderish states where it's like, are you really north? Are you really south? But in many ways, they're very south. Okay, enough about racist Kentucky. All right, we're back in modern day where it's peace and harmony and love, right? Very diverse state. Okay. Is Kentucky a trap game?
Absolutely. It is. It is. I think we'll handle them. I think we should. I think we'll be ready to go. But yeah, this is a classic.
Are you
Trap
sure
game.
you're not? Are you sure you're not looking ahead like Mike Elko is?
Oh, when he said he wasn't looking ahead and literally mentioned Texas, it's so good. It's so good. I was like, hey man, I get it. I get it, man. Especially A&M fan.
Here's
I'm
the problem.
not mad at him for it. It's just funny.
We'll talk about it, but A&M could lose. They could lose to Auburn.
That's not. I mean, you guys know. You guys were able to, finish the job there. You had a little
Well,
bit of your Sooner magic there, but yeah, it's not an
I'm
easy
just.
place to play.
It's not an easy place to play. They're not god awful. They're
No, they're
they're
not. They're
whatever
not.
they're whatever they are. They're not a very good team, but A&M is not Alabama. Like they could lose to Auburn. All right. Okay, we made mention of Mike Elko. We talked about it being a trap game. Okay, let's talk. Let's get to quarterback talk a little quicker than we did on the Oklahoma segment. Quinn struggled in a double-digit win on the road. So it's hard to know how much was struggle and how much was road tests in November. You're at home. You're playing Kentucky. Is there a point which he struggles enough that you see Arch Manning?
Man,
Or
I
are we
certainly
trying
hope
to?
not.
Okay.
I certainly hope not. He's got to play better. He's got to play better because Texas fans were hard on him after the Arkansas performance. And I know some people might say, the positive, ultra positive fan, well, it's like, well, we won by double digits, we're 9-1, and that's great. We're really happy about that. But we're trying to project here. We have an opportunity. There's no dominant team in the country right now, which leads me to believe there are several teams that can literally win the national championship this year. I think Texas is one of them, but we cannot do that if Quinn Ewers is playing like he played last week against Arkansas and like he's played in the last few weeks other than the Florida game. It's not good enough. He's got to be better, right? I know teams are playing a certain scheme, 3 safeties to keep us from taking shots down the field, but you got to be able to hit the ones that are there. He's got to be better because I'm nervous about it because, like I said, we have a legitimate chance here. You look at these college football playoff rankings, there's no, even Georgia, I know Georgia handled this on that day, but we know what Georgia is. They can be handled too.
Well, if you'd have converted on any of Carson Beck's 3 interceptions, you might have had a chance.
3 interceptions, yeah.
Look, I think you're going to win the game. It's a 21-point spread. I'm not sure you cover just because covering is getting tighter as the season goes. We've seen that in nearly all the matchups last weekend. Of course, it'll go the other way now that I say that, but I just feel like it'll be tighter. So I can just tell you right now, I'm probably picking Kentucky to cover. But you're going to win the game. That's what I think. I think you're going to win the game. However, Kentucky's defense is significantly better than Arkansas's defense, right?
Yes, it is. Arkansas is not bad defensively, but no, they're a lot better, especially up front.
So we're going to see. And that's the problem. Okay, so you talk about Quinn and the need to hit open spots. I still say Sark. He's got to scheme up some running to get Quinn off, get Quinn some space, get him some time, give him some confidence. Y'all really haven't ran the ball well the last 3 weeks.
Agreed. Yeah, the running game hasn't been great. I mean, it was good against Florida, but
how good was it against Florida? Do I have those stats?
We had a 100-yard rusher with Jared Gibson, and Jalen Blue had a good game too. I'm not sure what the stats were, but the running game looked good. But yeah, overall, it hasn't been great, and it wasn't good. It wasn't near good enough against Arkansas. So yes, we have to run the ball better to open up the play action. And my question is too, why is this 3 safety look still giving Sark trouble? We've been seeing this look since his first year there. Like, you haven't figured that thing out yet?
Kevin, Iowa State's been running it since 2017.
Correct. 2017, they unveiled it when they played against you guys.
And it's
here in Norman.
It did stymie Lincoln Riley to an extent, obviously in the first game, but even after that, but once they beat us, we kind of knew what to do at least.
Yeah.
But I gotta tell you, it blows my mind that they can put 3 down linemen and good teams can't run the ball on that.
Me too. Me too.
What can you
I
can
don't
you tell me what that is?
No, I think it's the middle safety. You have to have a guy who is good enough to come down and be a really good tackler in the run game. That's what I think the secret to that is. Having a safety who can cover well and come down and be a very reliable tackler in the run game so nothing gets loose. I still think that
Yeah.
you got to figure out something against that defense, though. Like I said, Texas has been facing it since I'm just, speaking about Sark specifically here, since 2021. Arkansas busted it out against us in 2021.
Well,
What the heck is this?
you OU did it against OU's done it against y'all. They did it against you this year. Now you had success
Yeah.
against OU, but largely because we can't move the ball and time of possession was completely woeful. But it is fascinating. I think Kentucky will probably run some version of it.
Why would you not?
I just think you got to run the ball. All right, on Kentucky side of things, guys to keep an eye out on. Brock Vandegrift, former OU commit under Lincoln Riley, signed with Georgia, transferred to Kentucky. He's 57.8% completion percentage on the year, 1,542 yards, 9 touchdowns against 7 interceptions. Your secondary last week looked very, very good. Is this an opportunity for your secondary to shine again?
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, the secondary has looked great all season long. I mean, against every opponent that we face. I know we haven't faced the most dynamic offenses in the conference, right? We haven't faced Alabama or Ole Miss. But the offenses that we have faced, the secondary has been outstanding. And I expect that to absolutely continue. I think we're going to get after Vandegrift, force him into throws. And the secondary has shown if they take a bad throw, they will intercept it and put our offense in a good position. And what the offense does with it, we'll see. But I think the whole defense will shine yet again against Kentucky.
They got a couple of good running backs. Sumo Dash, I have no idea how to pronounce that. Is averaging 4.6 yards a carry with 5 touchdowns. Wilcox, 6.9 yards on slightly less carries, 2 touchdowns. I like that 6.9 yards a carry. Y'all been pretty good at stopping the run, but there's at least some competency there. Wide receivers, you've got Dane Key with averaging 15.6 yards of reception, 2 touchdowns, and then Barry and Brown, only on 26 receptions, has 11.8 yards per catch with 3 touchdowns. Anything on either the running backs or the receivers that Texas needs to worry about?
Yeah, I mean, they've got Barry Brown is a dynamic athlete. If you get him in space, he can go the distance. He was a guy who flirted with the transfer portal. I had heard this was a couple years ago, and Texas may have been interested in him if he would have ended up going into the portal, but he ended up obviously staying at Kentucky. But I see Kentucky as a team. We've seen them against their best opponents, right? They beat Ole Miss and Oxford, and they honestly should have beat Georgia earlier this season.
Yes.
So this is a team that shows up. They're well coached under Stoops. They're not going to be intimidated by coming into Austin at all. So what I'm saying here is obviously Texas is a much better team, but Texas has to show up and they have to play a good game or they will lose this game. It's quite simple. You have to play well.
And they can't look past A&M. They just can't do it.
No, that can't happen.
You can't look past A&M. Okay. Kevin. Our sponsors, Brown O'Haver, public insurance adjusting firm, works for the insured, not the insurance company. If you've had a loss to your home or your business, specifically your home, if you're having to be out of your home for an insurance loss, whether it's tornado, fire, flood, you want to call Brown O'Haver, 405-735-5510. They work for the insured, not the insurance company. They will get you more money. You do not pay them unless they get you more money. Call Brown O'Haver, 405-735-5510. Kevin, people in Oklahoma always need a new roof because weather here is crazy. Who do they call if they think they need a new roof?
Yeah, if you're having issues with your roof, you think you may need to file a claim, but you're not 100% sure, give our friends over at Pioneer Roofing a call. They'll get out there and give you a free inspection, let you know if you need to file a claim, and if you do, to help you during the claims process. 405-549-2712.
Kevin, week 13, top 25 game starts a little early with UNLV, who's cracked into it, losing their quarterback early in the season, which was a huge story, has not kept them out of the top 25, which I think is pretty cool. They are going to San Jose State, where they are a 2.5-point favorite. However, the game of the week is in the Big Ten. It is a big noon kickoff. There's been a lot of talk about big noon kickoffs over the last couple of weeks, and this is just another one of where you're shaking your head going, why is this game so early? It would be awesome if it was later. Indiana at Ohio State. Ohio State is a 13.5-point dog. I'm sorry, 13.5-point favorite. Okay, we're going to talk about the college football playoff, but just as it relates to this, Indiana getting zero respect. People hating on Indiana's schedule. They cannot stand it. If Ohio State beats Indiana, is Indiana out of the picture altogether?
I don't know if they're all the way out. I think it's going to depend on how it looks. If they get blown out, then they're out.
You think if it's an Ohio State Penn State game or an Oregon Ohio State game, like something like that, where you see some competitiveness, that Indiana stays kind of in the playoff mix?
I think they're still in the mix, correct.
Okay, well, we're gonna pick it. Ole Miss at Florida. Florida's a 10-point dog, coming off a win against LSU. Ole Miss firmly entrenched in the playoff. Well, I say that, but they're at 10th in the playoff. They have to go to the Swamp. Florida riding a little high. DJ Lagway looking really good. Is this an upset special in the SEC?
It absolutely could be. Again, it's one of those things. Ole Miss is going to have to continue to play well and be at their best, because Florida looks good. They've got some momentum going. You know, it was a really great atmosphere in the Swamp last week when they took down LSU. The difference is, you know, Lagway was very immobile and still did a good job. Ole Miss has a dominant defensive line.
Yes.
You know that firsthand. Sooner fan knows that. They can get after Lagway, especially if he can't move like he did last week. And clearly, that Ole Miss offense, we saw what Texas was able to do to Florida with their passing game a couple weeks ago. Now, Florida has gotten some guys back in the secondary, but this Ole Miss offense, man.
When it's cooking, it's cooking.
Is there a better offense in the country when they're going? I mean, I take them even over Ohio State's offense. And even Alabama, too, from what Oregon? I've seen so far this year.
You like Jackson Dart over Dylan Gabriel?
Yes and no. I mean, I like Gabriel's moxie and ability to make plays off platform when the play starts to break down. That's what I really like about Dylan Gabriel. But from just a pure quarterback standpoint, I like Jackson Dart better. And I love their weapons that they have, too, for Ole Miss. And we've seen even when Trey Harris out.
I was about to say, I love their tight ends. I love the tight end game at Mississippi.
Yeah. They've got receivers, tight ends, and backs that they can throw to.
I see their tight ends, and it just makes me shake my head. I love a good tight end, dude. I've talked about that now for a couple of years on this.
Well, you're used to having some good ones there.
Yeah, we got to get back there. All right, SMU is at Virginia. Virginia's a 9.5-point dog. SMU, despite a win against Boston College, right? Despite a win against Boston College, they fall out of the playoff to be replaced by Miami as the projected ACC champion. So maybe they've got a little something to play for. Wake Forest at Miami. Miami is a 25-point favorite. Then you've got two of the why are we even playing these games in November games in the SEC. UMass at Georgia, 42 points. UTEP at Tennessee, 42 points. Okay, look, I absolutely hate this crap about the SEC. I'm sorry. I do not know why we're not playing 9 games. And I know that sounds really rich coming from an OU fan who can't win but one game so far. I don't care. These games suck. And I don't know how I do not know how the SEC gets away with this year after year after year. Just play 9 conference games. I just don't get it. There's enough parity. 4 of your teams are going to make the college football playoff, guaranteed almost every year. and maybe 5 because you're the SEC. You do not have to schedule this crap. And I hate it, Kevin. I hate it. Especially in November. Man, play this thing in September like Oklahoma did. Or
exactly.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't even like it. I don't like it. I don't like it, dude.
Yeah, I mean, Texas played ULM, and that was early, week 4, early in the season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I'm happy with. Look, I know that it's what is done, so I'm not picking on Oklahoma for scheduling Maine or picking on Texas for ULM. I'm just saying, what are we doing as a conference? And look, I love the experience so far. It's not the SEC's fault. Oklahoma sucks. I think Texas is getting fairly criticized for their lack of strength of schedule, but again, not their fault, and they're handling every game they have. But this is the one thing about the SEC where it's like, guys, just go to 9 games. God, this is terrible, dude.
Stop it. Yeah.
Penn State at Minnesota. Minnesota's 11.5-point dog at home. Okay, here we go. We might pick this one. You'll let me know. Colorado at KU. KU took down BYU last week. KU's only a 2.5-point dog at home. I don't think KU has the firepower to stay with Colorado. But weirder things can happen on the road, and you are in the Big 12, and Kansas maybe found something against BYU. Thoughts?
No, I agree. And I didn't know the line was that close. 2.5, very, very close for that point spread. So Vegas must be very concerned about it. But, I think Colorado's a serious team. I think they can handle business down there.
Aforementioned BYU and ASU, you like both of these teams potentially to still be alive in the Big 12. This is an elimination game for one or both. If BYU loses, I think they're out. I mean, they still might. I don't know what it looks like for the conference championship, but against ASU, this could be them out, especially if Colorado loses to Kansas. I mean, I'm sorry, especially if Colorado beats Kansas. So it's a game to keep an eye on. ASU 3-point favorite in the desert.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a big time game for BYU to go on the road and see if they can bounce back, right? You want a bounce back game, but you got another big challenge ahead. Arizona State's been playing really good football this year. They're a confident team. So, yeah, I want to see what BYU is made of mentally. Can they go down there and bounce back and get a big win against a conference opponent?
Yeah, you're just if you're a BYU fan, you're worried that the story ends on Saturday night. You know,
right. That'd be really disappointing.
The slipper falls off, right? Because BYU was looking at a really magical kind of run, especially with the last second win against Utah. But you can't lose to Kansas, and ASU's a fine team.
Especially at home.
Yeah, and ASU's a fine team, but you can't lose to ASU if you're serious.
Correct.
ASU's not that good. I mean, they're good. They're fine, but
they're ranked 21.
Yeah, whatever. All right. Louisiana Tech and Arkansas, 22-point favorite. Missouri at Mississippi State, 7.5-point dog for Zach Selman's athletic directorship of the Mississippi State Bulldogs.
It's a pretty close line, by the way.
7.5.
Yeah, for a team like Mississippi State, that do they even have a conference win? I don't think they do.
Missouri,
their wins this year: Eastern Kentucky and UMass. So that's interesting.
Missouri. It's funny that you bring that up. I was going to bring this up when we talked about the playoff, but I'll bring it up now since we're talking about Missouri. If people want to complain about the SEC getting the benefit of the doubt, I do not agree with them when it comes to Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. I think those teams are very, very, very good. I think they're really, really, really good, and they're beating up on each other, but they're really good football teams, and their environments are second to none. Missouri has 3 losses. Every good team Missouri's played, they've lost, and they should have lost to a bad team they played in Oklahoma, and somehow they're still ranked 23rd in the college football playoff. If you want to complain about SEC bias, there's your complaint right there. Missouri's trash. They are trash. I don't know that Missouri could play anybody else in the top 25 and win right now.
I agree.
I'm serious. I'm talking Army, SMU, Boise State. I mean, just pick a lower end top 25 team that we don't think is any good. I think Missouri gets blown out of the water. And that is Brady Cook. Yeah, it was a good game against South Carolina. Whatever. I don't know. I think Missouri sucks.
And real quick, for Mississippi State, keep an eye on their quarterback. I've been talking about him for
you like
half
him?
the season now. Michael Van Buren. I think he's really talented. I think him with Levy. So it wouldn't shock me if they were to beat Missouri this week.
Oh, I'd love it. I would love it. Army at Notre Dame. Navy has fallen off the map. They did not rebound like they did in 1941. So Army has to take the mantle. It's basically the Battle of the Bulge. Did you see the uniform reveal?
Oh, it's awesome. Yes.
Speaking of the Battle of the Bulge, got the uniform revealed. They're wearing the 101st Airborne. Bastogne in December is encircled by the Germans. Kevin, it's encircled by the Germans. The German commander reaches out to the commanding general of the 101st Airborne and inquires about, do they want to surrender? Do you know what the American commander said in response to the request for surrender?
No, I don't. Tell me.
One word reply. Nuts. Listen, I love it. That is awesome. Because it could go so many different ways. Like, you're nuts. Oh, nuts. Suck my nuts. I don't even know. I don't even know what context he meant it in, but I love every context of it. And of course, we know the general that went and relieved the 101st at Bastogne, right? This is another little quick history.
No, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Quiz. Oh, General Patton, dude. You kidding me? General Patton with the Third Army comes up. He makes a 180-degree turn in southern France to head up to Bastogne in the wintertime. No other general could have done that. No other general could have done what he did. They were cruising through the south of France, knocking on the door of Germany. Boop. Maybe not 100, maybe like a 90-degree turn, but he goes straight up to Bastogne. Great scene in the movie. Great scene in Patton, if you've ever seen Patton. He calls the chaplain in, okay? And they're about to proceed against Bastogne. And the biggest thing that was hampering the relief of Bastogne was the weather. A lot of cloud cover. Basically, at this point in the war, the Allies have air superiority, okay? Like, we are killing the Luftwaffe. They're on their last legs. But if it's cloudy, you're only as good as you can see, especially back then in terms of technology and stuff. So he asked the chaplain, this is a real story. He asked the chaplain to pray for better weather and pray for a victory. And the chaplain responds, do you want me to pray that we annihilate our dead? And Patton goes, absolutely yes. That's an order. And so in the movie, there's just this scene where the chaplain makes this prayer and the clouds part. And now you've got the air superiority. Patton overtakes Bastogne. It's great. If you haven't seen Patton, it's fantastic. George C. Scott plays Patton. Really, really good. Patton is not coaching this Army team. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. Touchdown Jesus is 1-0 against the United States Armed Services so far this year. Do you think they go 2-0?
Yes.
They're 14.5-point favorites. We will talk. We might pick this game. This is a ranked team. Great story. We might pick this game. Boise State, Ashton Jeanty continues his trek towards the Heisman against Wyoming. Wyoming's 23-point dog. A&M at Auburn. We talked about this. Auburn is only a 2.5-point dog. I think this is a very losable game for A&M. Their coach has practically admitted they're looking forward to the Texas game. Auburn is not an easy place to play. A&M is not good enough to look past any opponent on their schedule. I think this is ripe for an upset.
So do I. Part of me, though, I hope A&M kind of wins just so they have full momentum going into our game next week.
Oh, for sure. I want you to win in it. I want Texas and A&M to win only for the spectacle that's going to occur in 2 weeks.
Correct.
Now, there's a side of me that would love if Texas and A&M both lost and the luster was completely off this game. But I don't think it's going to happen on the Texas side.
When Texas isn't good, I always root for chaos. So, yeah, I understand where you're coming from there.
Iowa State at Utah. Utah 7.5-point dog. Vanderbilt at LSU. LSU's only a 7.5-point favorite at home. I think this is a litmus test to tell us if Oklahoma has a chance. If Vanderbilt makes this a ball game, maybe even sneaks out a win, I think OU says maybe there's a chance against LSU. If LSU somehow finds something and becomes coachable, get it? Then I think Oklahoma might be in for a long Saturday night after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we'll see what they're about. Go out and win the game, handle business. Diego Pavia, though, we know he's tough. So I'm curious to see because LSU has struggled against mobile quarterbacks all year long. Does that change with Pavia?
How much of Pavia is a mobile quarterback versus he's just a hard-nosed football player that can go get you 10 yards?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean by him. Yeah, he's not, Jalen Milroe.
He's not Jalen Milroe,
to the house. No, I mean, he had a 20-yard touchdown run against Texas. We took a horrible angle. But yeah, and he's really tough. He's not going to be scared to go to Tiger Stadium at all.
Yeah.
Even though it's a night game.
Just because we always mention USC because we hate them. USC is at UCLA. UCLA is 4.5-point underdog at home. And in closing up, SEC play Wofford at South Carolina in another stupid November game. I hate it so much. Okay. Let's pick some games, Kevin. Then we're going to talk college football playoff. We're going to pick Indiana, Ohio State. Here's your other choices. We got to pick two out of these three. And you can tell me if I missed one. Ole Miss, Florida. Colorado, KU. BYU, ASU. Army, Notre Dame.
I will do Army, Notre Dame.
Okay. And one more. Indiana, Ohio State. Army, Notre Dame. One more.
We'll do Indiana, Ohio State, just because it's the biggest game.
No. I got that one. That's on the list.
Okay, we already have that. Okay.
That one's on the list. I mean, yeah, it's a top
let's
five
do
matchup.
Let's do Ole Miss, Florida.
Okay, that's exactly what I have here.
Stick in the conference.
That's exactly what I have here. Okay. Wow. I want Indiana to win so bad. I like the chaos. I would love a scenario where Ohio State gets bumped out of the first playoff. And I also think 13.5 is a lot of points. I talked about this at the beginning of the show. As these end of the year games happen, these point spreads get tighter. They don't get bigger. And so teams tend to stay in it, whether it's weather or it's injuries or whatever the case may be. Scouting, more stuff's on tape. There's so many factors that just goes into tightening these windows up. I don't know if Indiana's going to win, but they're going to cover.
Okay. I hope they cover. Actually, I hope they win the game, but I'm going with Ohio State.
Look, dude, Ohio State in their two matchups against really, really good teams, they lost to Oregon, and it was a ball game against Penn State, and that's the only two teams they've played. So
yeah, I agree. Yeah, they lost 32-31, and then 20-13 win over, like you said, Penn State.
I'm not saying they're not good, but it's not like they're rolling against good teams. Indiana, they could very easily have had Indiana's schedule and performed very similarly to what Indiana's performed with.
Yeah. Now, also, I will say this: their starting center did tear his Achilles yesterday. It's gonna be out for the season.
Who's?
Ohio State.
Oh, poor Bat. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Get well soon. Does that affect the line? This line's this morning.
He's a starting center though. So
dude,
we'll see, man.
Okay, Army. I gave him a little history lesson on Army. If you haven't seen the intro video or not the reveal video for their uniforms, check it out. It's pretty legit. They're at Notre Dame. The line is 14.5. I will let you start.
Man, I love what Army's been able to do this year. I love how tough they are and how multiple their offense is compared to a typical service academy. But, man, I think the talent disparity is just too much, and Notre Dame seems really focused and serious over the last few weeks. So I'm going with the Irish to win and cover. You
hate the underdog, Kevin. That's what I have come to find out, is you hate the underdog. You hate the upset story. You only want Giants. You want Giants in the game. That's all you want. Where's your love for the little guy, Kevin? Where's your love for the little engine that could?
Hey, man. I'm rolling with Vegas here.
Do you not forget that this giant slayer, which is Notre Dame, also lost to Northern Illinois? You don't think Army's maybe a little bit better than Northern Illinois was?
Well, I know that Army's better, which means they'll have Notre Dame's attention, which Northern Illinois clearly did not.
Okay, look, we went with the exact same picks last week. We might go with the exact opposite picks this week. I think Army covers, and I hope they win. I hope they win. Bring it on, Army.
Really, also, this game being in Yankee Stadium, that's going to be very interesting, too.
Oh, I love it. I love that stuff. That's what college football's about. Is creating environments. Just create different environments. It's so fun. I mean, you could never do that with an NFL game. I mean, they tried to do it by sending it to Brazil and stuff, but it's like, whatever. Ole Miss, Florida. It's another big line on the road. Ole Miss on the road, 10-point favorite. I just think the line's too big. I don't think they beat Ole Miss. I think Florida keeps it within 10. I'm going Florida.
Okay, we're going opposite again. I'm going Ole Miss. I really like what I've been seeing out of Florida, though, and Billy Napier, but Jackson Dart in that offense, too much for the Gators.
I said it already. Kentucky covers the 21, but Texas still wins easily. Easily.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm going to go Kentucky to cover.
All right. Here, this is a really weird line for me. Oklahoma 13.5. Because I could see Alabama winning 28-14 very easily. And walking away from it saying that, oh, you played a good game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Bama. I'm going to say Bama covers and hope I'm dead wrong. I want to take the L. So I'm doing some reverse psychology, some ninja jujitsu. I'm taking Alabama to cover.
I've got Alabama too, just because I just don't know how the points are going to come from OU.
Yeah, I don't know either. Okay. What do we got? Just it's a little over an hour, but real quick. College football playoff was announced, or at least the rankings for this week were announced yesterday. Oregon, Texas, no surprise. Miami is flip-flopped with SMU in terms of who they like and who they think is going to potentially win out. They say that it's not based on projection, so I'm really not sure how you can make that switch. I think Miami might have even had an off week last week. But I guess they just really didn't like what SMU was about against Boston College. So whatever. Here's the real shocker, though, is Boise State has moved into the 4th spot. Okay. I guess I did not realize that a group of 5 team could occupy one of the 4 spots.
Yeah.
Is that my bad? Did I just not know that?
No, I wasn't 100% sure of that either. So I get that.
Here's the problem. If this goes down the way this goes down, it'll be the last time a group of 5 gets the top 4 spots, because the SEC and the Big 10, ACC and Big 12 are not going to let this happen again. And I got to tell you, Boise State's a great story, and I want to see Ashton Jeanty in the playoff. I would love to see him go up against anybody. They do not deserve a bye, Kevin. Their strength of schedule is 91st in the country. Okay? I get that you cannot put a Big 12 team. I understand that. BYU's strength of schedule is like 31st versus 91st. Okay? They're on Boise's 1 losses to Oregon. I also understand that. I get it. But come on, man. They're not one of the top 4 teams. A bye is so precious. A bye is so precious. You cannot be handing that out. You cannot be handing that out.
Texas is getting crap from everybody, and I think our strength of schedule is 38th. I think so. To be 91 with a bye, man, it's wild for sure.
You just can't do it. I don't know. I find that the highest ranked Big 12 team is just making the playoff. At number 12. Now, granted, a Big 12 team will make the playoff because somebody has to win that conference. But even with the rankings, they are saying that the Big 12 is terrible. I kind of think I agree with them, because I'm not even sure. I know you love Colorado, and I think Colorado, Alabama, Colorado, Tennessee, Ole Miss would be a heck of a matchup, and I would watch every second. I don't think BYU, Colorado, or ASU are in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, no, I don't think they should be in the conference. Like I don't think it's good, but it's just fun. We would be fun with the Big 12.
In SEC news, Tennessee is odd man out. We talked about who they have remaining on their schedule last week. I'm not sure that Tennessee can do anything. Tennessee only
that's
plays
the problem.
If everybody holds serve, Tennessee can only beat UTEP and Vandy. Where Texas has Kentucky and A&M. A&M would be a much better win. They're not going to bump Georgia because we saw what Georgia did to Tennessee. And Alabama has to play OU and Auburn, which despite OU being down and Auburn not being great, are still better wins than UTEP and Vandy.
For sure.
Are you nervous if you're a Tennessee Volunteer fan, or do you think something happens that can get you in?
I mean, there's still going to be a ton of chaos, but you don't control your own destiny anymore.
Yeah,
that's the worst part.
SEC tiebreakers. We asked about this last week. If there's two teams, whether it's for first place or second place, it's head-to-head, record versus common opponents, record amongst highest ranked conference opponents, cumulative conference win percentage. I don't even know what that means. Point differential, which I do know what that means. And at the end of the day, it's a random draw. So at the end of the day, now, if you have three teams, they go through the same tiebreakers. If a clear two emerge, then they are in the SEC championship game. If one emerges and you're left with two, then the two then go through the same tiebreakers to then determine who gets in there. Here's what I want to happen if we have a three-way tie. I want them to meet at an undisclosed truck stop somewhere in Mississippi or Alabama. And I want their coach and their quarterback to show up with vintage coins and do a coin flip a la Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, like it's Texas high school football. I love it.
That's what I want to see. Forget the rest of this. The rest of this. I want to see coins being flipped in the air in a truck stop, undisclosed, for safety purposes.
Yes, exactly. With any fans showing up, trying to influence anything, it's got to be some backwoods truck stop somewhere.
Billy Bob Thornton was fantastic in that movie.
He was.
I've talked about that movie before. I did not know the story of Odessa Permian. I knew Odessa Permian is a powerhouse. That's not what I meant to say. I didn't know the specific story, right, of that season. So we went and watched it. And you are so, as an American film viewer, you're so accustomed to the team winning.
Yeah.
Now, Rocky has thrown curveballs at you in the past, and you should have that in your mind, right? You should have that in your mind.
Yeah.
However, you tend to forget, because then you get the Mighty Ducks thrown at you, and the Angels in the outfield, and then Hoosiers, and all the things. So you're just so used to the winning that when the quarterback for Odessa Permian fell 1 yard short, it absolutely ripped my heart out. Absolutely ripped my heart out, Kevin. You probably loved it, though, because you don't like the underdog. You probably said, this is how sports are supposed to be played. The bad guys win. Am I right?
First of all, the bad guys?
Yeah. Dallas Carter was portrayed as the bad guys. Did you not see how they portrayed him? And the coach with his lollipop. These guys can tackle. These guys can tackle. I'll give them that.
That first of all, if you know the history of that Dallas Carter team, it's a miracle that Permian even kept that game close.
100%.
The amount of time. First of all, just having Jesse Armstead at middle linebacker is enough.
Oh.
To just say and I
don't think they overdid how good Dallas Carter was that year.
No.
I don't think they overdid it.
Not at all.
I think they were absolutely that good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they had multiple D1 guys, and I don't want to get into it on here, but look up the story on what happened to those guys at Dallas Carter. Pretty crazy stuff.
Can you give us a tidbit? Do you have a tidbit? One tidbit?
Well, they had a lot of guys who were going D1, and they had a little incident that ruined all of it.
Seriously? Oh man!
hmm
All right, now
It's
I
a
gotta
30
go.
for it's a 30 for 30 on it.
Oh, is it really?
It's called
Okay.
what I think it's called What Carter Lost. Check it out.
Oh, okay. Well, dude, you know I love 30 for 30s. Anyway, I don't even know how we got to talk. Oh, because the coin flips. That was okay. So Marjorie, my daughter, and then we'll go, Kevin. I know you got to get to work. You're a working man. Um, my daughter was struggling after her second basketball game of the season. Okay. Um, she's a little down. So we had a bye week on Saturday, and so no, and then soccer games they didn't get rained out, but she didn't have a soccer game until like later that afternoon. And Alice was out of town, so it was just me and the two girls. And you know what I did?
What's that?
Pulled up a little movie called Hoosiers, had her settle in, and just watch Jimmy Chitwood shoot the basketball for 2 hours.
Fun
And you know
stuff.
what, dude? Listen, my two girls, the movie is over. Okay, the movie has ended. They get up without prompting. I'm dead serious. This was incredibly organic. They get up, they walk outside, and the ball bounces for the next 2 hours. They're shooting back. I didn't even go out there with them. I didn't want to be like the dad. They just went out and shot baskets with each other for 2 hours.
Awesome. Great stuff, man.
Is Jimmy Chitwood the best fictional basketball player of all time? Or do you like Jesus Shuttlesworth?
I mean, he's fictional, but he's a real. It's Ray Allen, though. You
Hey,
know,
what's the guy's name? Marinus Valianis or something? That guy's a real guy too. That
that's
stroke
true.
is real, Kevin. That stroke
No,
was
that is true.
real.
Yeah, that you can't learn that in an acting class, or even
No,
by being coached up
we
for a
we
couple weeks by an NBA guy or shooting coach.
we have seen plenty of bad basketball players on air, and so many movies where they have to cut the shot from the actual from the outcome where it then is swishing through the net at an angle that is incredibly unnatural. I agree with you. Listen, I love Jesus Shuttlesworth. Okay, there's some scenes in there that I can't show my girls.
Yeah, they're not,
Assistant,
not ready for that movie yet.
I hope they're never ready for that movie, Kevin. Assistant coaches? Come on.
Yeah,
All right. Rick Fox is like a horrible person in that movie. Rick, what a great scene. Anyway, I digress. Uh, however, Jesus Shuttlesworth was really good. I'll tell you who was not good in that movie. Denzel. I love Denzel, and we just got done talking about Denzel in the last show. I did not think Denzel looked like a ball player in that movie. Did you? Come on. And it wasn't just the ankle. It wasn't just the ankle monitor. He just didn't look good.
he wasn't bad for Denzel Washington. Did you? I heard a story about that, and apparently Denzel was not supposed to score. They didn't tell Ray Allen that Denzel was going to score on him. So when Denzel scored on him, he was like surprised. They really wanted to get him going in real life when filming that last scene, the one-on-one scene with them.
Well, I'll tell you what. He had to do everything he possibly could do to score against Ray Allen. I will tell you
Yeah.
that.
Hey,
The
pros
talent,
versus Joes, man. You
the
know how it
talent
is.
in that, the talent in that movie was actually really good. I can't think of everybody that was in that movie, but there were some good dudes in that movie. I guess Shaq was in Blue Chips, but see, he wasn't as good as Jesus Shuttlesworth or Jimmy Chitwood.
No, maybe it's Shaq. Obviously,
Well, I mean,
but
Shaq,
yeah,
but
but
I'm
I'm
just
saying, yeah,
saying
but the character that they're playing, yeah,
he wasn't. Look,
yeah. Penny Hardaway too.
was he in Blue Chips?
hmm
Yeah.
That's actually how they met. And after a while working on the filming for that movie, that's what made Shaq want Penny to play for him or with him in Orlando. They ended up getting the
They
number one
were
pick in the draft.
they were a good combination. They were a good combination, and nothing was better back in the day than Little Penny commercials.
So good.
Little
Yeah.
Penny commercials. If you have not seen a Little Penny commercial, do yourself a favor. Little, oh my god, I can't even think of the lines right now.
It's
I mean, I
hard to
can, but I don't.
explain how much of a star Penny Hardaway was in the mid to late 90s.
Dude, he was
Got the
fantastic.
posters all over my wall, man. He was great.
Those Orlando
6-7
Magic teams. Those Orlando Magic teams were really good. Was it Dennis Scott that missed the free throws though?
No, that was Nick Anderson.
Nick Anderson, that's right. Dennis Scott was on that team though, right?
He was. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you're right. Man, that was Little Penny. Little Penny.
Chris
yeah,
Rock.
Is that who it was?
Hmm?
So good. God, it's so good. Man, that's a trip down memory lane, Kevin. We probably went a little longer than we should have, but that's all right. I don't care. It's good stuff. Listen, Kentucky plays Texas. Kentucky probably gets hosed by Texas. Alabama plays Oklahoma, and Oklahoma rises up, Kevin. They rise up to the challenge. Will they have enough to overcome? We will see, and we will be live following the game, doing a live. Well, I say live. I don't know. Maybe we broadcasted live. We will be doing a recap immediately after the game. So you will get the raw reaction from John Whitson and Kevin Miller on the Oklahoma-Alabama game and everything that results on Saturday, day and night. Kevin, have a great rest of your week. Over.
Okay.